At Build-A-Bear, we realized really early on what we were selling as an experience. Someone was celebrating their birthday, or someone was going back to school, or their mom or dad had been deployed and they were getting a teddy bear to comfort them. Those experiences is what humans are really, really good at, and recognizing the human connection. We pick up on those things. Really, really good associates are super good at that.
Hi, Dave. Welcome to the podcast. We've been seeing, there is so much data now available with online shopping. The funnel has always been there where as a retailer, you sort of know exactly what people are clicking, what people are viewing, where people are spending more time, what people are finally buying, etc. Right? You've started to get similar data in the retail store world. So the reality is not far away where AI is going to know the customer better than the actual associates in the store. Where do you see this going, Dave?
Well, it's interesting. One of the things that helps to shape kind of how I think about this is when we were building the store of the future concept at Build-A-Bear, if you think about Build-A-Bear for a second, it was the most technologically advanced human. It was a 10-year-old girl was our demographic, right? So super savvy, born with the internet, born with AI in hand, right? And so we had built this store that was a mix between digital and retail, with all the magic of what Build-A-Bear was from an experience perspective. And we were rolling these stores out, and they were phenomenally successful. We had some stores where people were waiting 4.5 hours to get into the store. Like the line was out the mall and around the mall. It was longer than the line for the launch of the iPhone at the time. Now it was one store, and they did that iPhone launch for every store, but it was hugely successful. So it resonated really, really well with the consumer because we spoke her language in a really meaningful way. But we were standing outside the store one of the store openings, and I was standing with my colleague who was over the store workshop teams. And he said, Finn, we get our best, highest customer satisfaction when one human connects to another human in the store. And I was standing there watching this, and he was absolutely right. While the kids were interacting with technology and it was creating a different level of experience for them, which was amazing. What lit them up and what they remembered the most is to say, Pareiya, it's your birthday today. Oh, everyone, it's Pareiya's birthday. When someone connected with them on a human level, it created a whole different experience. And so that for me, I've shared that story in the past with others, and some people think that means that I'm anti-digital or anti-AI. I'm not. I actually think that what's happening is a really exciting time because it takes the administrivia stuff off of the list of what the store has to do and moves that off and automates that and allows the store associate to now be a host, to now be a guide, to be a trusted partner. Right. And so we're living in a really exciting time where that human connection is actually going to be more valued at the store level than ever before because of AI. So I'm actually really excited about it.
Awesome. I think that resonates a lot, Dave. But there is one thing that people keep mentioning these days, which is, AI is making retailers smart, and also that AI is changing the way shoppers behave and it's changing the way people shop at retail stores. But do you think it's changing the way people shop, or that behavior always existed and it's just getting surfaced better because of the availability of AI and better innovation?
I think it's revealing truths that have always been there. Like shoppers care about convenience.
Yeah.
Right. We care about connection. We care about, from a human and anthropology perspective, we care that we're seen, right? We care to be validated. So what happens at the store level is really, really good store associates, they recognized, they're not really good because they knew all the facts on that specific product. The best store associates that I ever worked with were really good because they could read people.
Yeah.
Right? They could see the sparkle in your eye when you see your daughter doing something for the first time. They could see the emotion of what you were creating together in an experience like Build-A-Bear. So I feel like what's happening is these truths are just getting more clear to us. In other words, this allows humans to do what they do best, which is more human things, and let AI do the automation, which is what AI does best. And so I feel like it's going to separate those things and actually make for a better experience overall.
I agree. I mean, me as a shopper as well, right? I want something to cut through all the noise that I have to go through and still be able to browse through products, still be able to browse through catalog, but just reduce the friction for me, if you will, and help me shop more smoothly and make me be more efficient, right? At the end of the day, um, all that matters is the experience that I take away when I go into a retail, store to shop. And I think that experience center just keeps getting improved with AI being able to feed the associates with the right amount of information on their fingertips, understand the persona better, right? I remember one of these experiences where I went into one of the Nordstrom stores and I genuinely wasn't expecting somebody to greet me, because that happened to be one of the stores where I very frequently started going when I traveled to New York. And one of these times, the same associate I met for the fourth visit. And to my surprise, that person remembered my name. They remembered I came from India all the way, and they literally greeted me with the name, with my understanding of the way I shop. And he was like, "I'm sure you have nothing more than 20 minutes. So what can I do for you?" I mean, I was just amazed at that associate to know me better than, some of the other associates that I've interacted with, tens and hundreds of times, right? So that's what makes the experience really shine out for me as well.
I completely agree with you. I mean, if you think about from an efficiency perspective, we don't enjoy scrolling through 50 pages worth of product detail pages. We like to get to the stuff that we really, really want to see. AI can kind of cut through that noise for us. But
Absolutely.
what was interesting about your experience, I think, at Nordstrom was you're hitting on something that we know from a long time of anthropology, which is humans, they don't want to be tracked, they want to be seen, right? They want to be validated who they are, like truly seen. There's a book out right now that's called Theo of Golden, which I'm just wrapping up, interestingly. And the book is all about actually someone who's taking the time to see those that he interacts with. And that resonates with humans. That is what this store of the future associate looks like to me, is someone who understands that in a really meaningful way. And you experience that firsthand at Nordstrom's, and it's a great example.
Yeah, beautiful. Dave, you've traveled so much across the world, right? Like you've traveled to parts of the world where, people would think 10 times before spending months the way you did, right? So tell me more about what you're seeing, how you've seen the shopper behavior change across different countries, different continents, different, uh, the behavior signals, and how does it matter in the AI era, if you may?
What's interesting is when I traveled with a backpack for a year to different places of the world, interviewing tribes and scientists and librarians of old libraries. Some of the best experiences I had were spending times in the souks of Morocco, for example, and watching these guys do retail, who have been doing retail for thousands of years in that exact same shop. And what's interesting that I found just overall in my travels is that the external view of humans is varied greatly, right? So the experience that you might have in Morocco is different than what you would have in, Ushuaia, South America. But once you go past the first layer, the second layer of what humans are is surprisingly consistent.
Mm.
Like, we all care about community. We're designed to connect to each other. That's extremely important to us as humans. That's what makes us successful sapiens. And so what was interesting is to see the differences, but more importantly, to see the things that were most consistent. And so as I think about that from a shopping behavior perspective, shopping behavior will change. It's changed. It's changed a ton in our lifetime already, right? It'll continue to change in a really fundamental way. What I think will remain pretty consistent is that second layer of what humans experience. And the fact that they experience people who connect with them and know them and recognize them and see them, that won't change for us as humans. That's what makes us actually human. So
Yeah.
those brands who get that and understand that their store associate is no longer an information disseminator, they're a host.
Mm.
Then this personal connection means a lot more to retailers who do that. So I'm excited about what that actually means for the future.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. So Dave, we've seen shoppers now, even when before they go to a retail store to shop, they've already researched what they want to buy, where they want to go and buy it, what experience are they looking for. They might have even gone to an extent where they would have already interacted with an AI assistant online to help make a lot of shopping decisions even before they enter the four walls of the retail stores. How do you see the role of a retail physical store changing with the way shoppers are behaving now?
It used to be, I think, decades ago, that shoppers would start their shopping journey at the store, right?
Mm.
Their discovery was at the store. Now it's the last mile of the
Yeah.
store. So their shopping journey started a long time ago, right? And it started with reading online reviews. By the way, one comment about online reviews, it's interesting that when we're shopping, we care about what other humans think. Right? Can you imagine reading a synthetic online review that an AI wrote for you? You would discount it because we value humans, right? So we want to know what another human thinks about something. That's part of our shopping behavior. So what's interesting, I think, is that as we go through this process, it's shifting from discovery up front to going through that discovery process. And then this is kind of the last mile. When I was at Build-A-Bear and when I was at Orbis, I would take my team to go on shopping trips. And we did a process that I call smile mapping, where we would go into our store and we would see where the emotional connection to our consumer was. And what was interesting about just watching people is they don't shop with their eyes, they shop with their hands and their eyes. Watch the next time you go into a retail store. They are touching things. They're holding things up in front of them. They're feeling the fabric. They're looking at what this looks like on them, right? So that last mile of what does this feel like? How does it touch? What does it look like in person? That's a hugely important part of our purchasing behavior for the things that we care about. And so I think that shift in the understanding that that's an important part of the shopping behavior for some purchases. If you're buying toilet paper or you're buying, I don't know, the staples, you don't have to do that kind of stuff. But when you're buying a new dress, and if it's for something that is an occasion for you, you're going to touch it and feel it. And even online, what happens is you order 5 of those so you can touch and feel each one of them and see what they look like. And then you send the rest back. It's all about this tactile experience. And so I think retailers in the future who get that it's shifted to the kind of the last mile of the shopping experience, and you're not starting their shopping experience, you're helping them on their journey that's already started. Those that understand that, I think, will be more successful.
Yeah, and that reminds me of an interesting conversation that I was just having yesterday, where we were talking about these virtual try-ons, right? Zara has launched their virtual try-on. Multiple brands are doing that. We see that happening on the e-commerce applications, as well as we see them happening, within the retail stores, right? And technology is getting to a point where you will see more of this coming, Dave, where there'll be interfaces in the store where I'll not only just be able to do a virtual try on. I'll literally be able to drag drop, create my own experience, create a fitting room experience for myself by adding everything to the cart and requesting it. If there's stuff which is not there and I want all of it to be shipped to my home, I will basically be building all of that experience, right? And the conversation went in the direction of, it's great, I will be able to virtually try it on, but how do I experience the fabric? How do I understand the texture of it? How do I understand how it feels on my skin, right? And those aspects need to be very well integrated when you're building technologies like this. So you cannot put a virtual try on in the corner of the store where there is no inventory around. You want to make sure that you bring these two together as humanly close as possible, so that that experience of all the senses that you have can sort of integrate and create a better experience, right? So I think it's going to get more and more interesting to observe what technology can do, right? Like, I don't see it far away where technology should also be able to let you feel the texture of products, right? Like, why not? There is that, you can go as wild as you can, but I still feel the physical touch of inventory is never going to go away. I mean, for me now, like, e-com became the thing for me for a while because of convenience, but I'm now absolutely back to retail stores. Like, for me, to make a purchasing decision, anything above $50 is going into a retail store and doing it, because it just doesn't click. It just doesn't stay, right? I would even go to an extent where I would go to a store, like what I like, and then add it to a cart and then maybe request it to my home, right? Just so that I don't have to carry shopping bags around. But convenience is the new thing, but retail stores, that the textile experience doesn't go away.
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, I have an experience at Build-A-Bear that kind of goes to your virtual try-on. So when we were doing the store of the future, we were concepting a bunch of different concepts and we were prototyping them. We did a video that was a video kind of sizzle reel walkthrough of here's all the experiences that we could do to enhance our experience. And then we used that video to identify the stuff we actually wanted to build. One of those was a virtual try-on for your bear, right? So at Build-A-Bear, you choose your animal, your bear, and then you bring it to life. And then you're standing in front of a wall of, from Spider-Man to Hello Kitty costumes all across the wall. And so we built this kiosk that allowed you to scan your bear, and your bear would come up, right? Because it knew your bear, right? And you could literally try on all of the things that we had in our inventory, including what was on the wall, or if it wasn't on the wall, you could get it ordered. We set that up. We thought this will be great because it'll be extended the aisle and you can look at other things. When we set it up and we tested it, we found that no one used it. No one used it.
Wow.
The reason that what we learned from that is that the ultimate interaction, the ultimate interactive is the product in your hands. And these kids were standing in front of a wall of products. The best thing to create interaction for them is let them grab those products and try them on their bear. That interaction was way, way more valuable than doing it a virtual try on right next to it. Even though they are more technically savvy than anyone else, they valued the fact that they could touch it and that they could see what it looked like. And so it helped me to learn that the tactile experience is still extremely important. And sometimes we put technology in the path of getting to that experience instead of getting to that experience by using good technology. And so I made that mistake and I learned from that. And so we cut it out of our store of the future, and we did put it in any other stores because we realized that the product was the ultimate experience.
Makes absolute sense. Brings me to the next question, Dave. See, retail has always been an emotional game, right? People don't just buy products; they buy confidence, identity, aspiration, and belonging. Now, which of these emotions do you think AI can influence, and which of these will still require humans in to own them?
So I think where AI can help a lot is confidence in purchase, like you've done your homework. People will say, look, one of the things that people like to do is they like to shop because they want to see what other options are. They might like the first thing they see, but they do want to see other things because it's the comparison that validates their thinking. And so I think AI can help shorten that a lot for them and show them, the relevant things really, really early on. So they can get, extra confidence in their purchase behavior from that perspective. Where humans are more valuable, in my view, are when you're celebrating, when you're creating an experience. So going back to an example at Orvis, we were a fly fishing company. Anyone could go buy a fly rod online. The reason that someone would come to the store is because they wanted to talk to an associate about where they were going and what they were doing, and have the associate validate and coach them and give them advice. They could have read that advice somewhere else. But when humans connect with each other and they get this coaching and validation, it helps to solidify their decisions. And so I feel like those times where we connect together in a very authentic way. The other thing, at Build-A-Bear, we weren't selling stuffed animals. We realized really early on what we were selling is an experience. And so we were selling, someone was celebrating their birthday, or someone was going back to school, or their mom or dad had been deployed and they were getting a teddy bear to help comfort them. Those experiences is what humans are really, really good at, and recognizing the human connection. Humans can see that there's a tear in your eye. Humans can see a husband who's looking at his wife for her approval of what he's trying on. We pick up on those things. Really, really good associates are super good at that. And those that get those cues that are way more subtle, those are the ones that I think are going to be super, super successful. And then we can let AI automate the processes around that help us to be a lot more efficient. So we scale humanity with the humans, and we scale, efficiency on the AI side.
Yeah. But Dave, do you think there is a point where personalization starts to feel more intrusive than valuable? What's that fine line, both for AI as well as humans in the retail store?
Yeah. So what's interesting about humans is we want to be seen, but we don't want to be tracked. And so if I feel like you're tracking me, that's different than saying, Pareiya, it's great to see you again, right? There's a massive difference, even though the data would say, hey, welcome back, right? So I think there's a fine line between those things. And if it's really thinking about what the experience is that's validating us seeing you, instead of trying to, sometimes I think we mistake what personalization actually means. Personalization isn't getting your name right or what you purchased in the past. Personalization is actually validating that we understand you and we get you. That's in what we offer. That's in what we suggest. Those things that we can put forward to you that really say, oh yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Those kinds of personalization, that's way more effective than your name in certain things on a form. So I think there's a fine line between those things. And I think those that will do this really, really well will get that personalization is about helping the customer to be seen and not tracked.
Love that. Love that. Dave, if you were designing let's say hypothetically designing the associates of of the future, let's say 2035, what is it that you would train the associates on which maybe AI won't be able to?
I think about the best associates that I've worked with, and I've worked with some really, really good ones, like really inspiring people. I think one of the first things is that they were curious. When they're curious, they're asking questions. They're asking the right questions. I feel like the successful humans in the future are the best question askers. They're the best seekers. I use a phrase seekers and disruptors all the time. And when you're seeking, when you're curious, then you get to what the person is thinking a little faster. The other two things probably that I would have make sure that we trained was empathy. Like if I'm curious and I'm empathetic and I can understand and I put myself in your position, then I can help to develop a better experience for you. And the third thing is storytellers. I think really good storytellers get why you're there. They understand, those things work together. So if you start with asking great questions and you put yourself in that person's perspective, and then you can weave it into a story that's meaningful, I think those are the most impactful values that I would make sure that the associate of the future has. And I've seen that in associates today.
Yeah.
But I think what's going to happen, to be honest with you, is that there's going to be a gap between the really, really good associates and the ones that were just information givers. The information givers will struggle in this AI world because what they were doing will go away. But if they can shift into this, what does it mean to be a host kind of world, then I think we're going to see it'll separate the best from the mediocre. I think
Yep.
that's what will happen in this process.
Absolutely. And I think, curiosity, empathy, these are things that I feel in the AI world, literally not just retail, any field, right? Even when we're getting our kids ready for elementary schools or middle schools, we making sure that those basic parameters of curiosity and empathy, are built well and they are engraved well, within those little humans, because that's what is going to help you navigate through life, right? We're seeing so many jobs being changed the way they used to be done. They're still being done, and humans are still at the interjection of it in a lot of places, but the way they are being done is being changed in the background altogether, right? And what stays is definitely curiosity, empathy, and the other softer elements that make humans humans, which is what I feel is going to take us a long way.
I
Dave,
feel like that's true, and I would say one of the best ways to go and accomplish that with young people and ourselves is to explore. To get out of our own comfort zones and to go to other places and other cultures and experience other things.
yep,
It builds curiosity. It builds empathy. You see from different people's perspectives. And so I feel like the next generation, what's really, really cool about this next generation of young people, which I'm really think is really awesome, which was way better than my generation, to be honest with you, is they are collectors of experiences. And my generation was collectors of stuff. And so what I'm excited about this next generation is that they love to collect experiences. And I think the more we can encourage that, it'll help to build their resilience, their curiosity, their empathy, their storytelling. All of those things happen when you get out of your comfort zone and you go live with someone else for a little bit and you travel. And whatever form that is, when you do that, it engenders those things. And so doing that with our kids early on is hugely impactful, I believe.
yeah, yeah. I'm going to use that. Be collectors of experiences and not stuff.
Collectors of stuff, for sure.
Yeah, love that. Love that. You're gonna see that on, being used by me a lot of times. So there are certain lines that inspire you instantly, and you're like, okay, this goes in my diary.
Yeah, I've had those myself, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So going back to the question of the future, right? Um, Dave, what do you think is going to be the best retail shopping experience, right? Where do you see the fine balance between AI and associates? One of the versions that I've heard, from my peers and leaders in the industry is are things around how AI is going to more sit in AI, and not just AI, like even humanoids, even technology is basically going to sit in the back store, right? And do uh, things that associates can shy away from, so that they can build those experiences in the front of the store. But then there are perspectives which basically go out to say that humanoids are going to also be in the front of the store, and like they'll be doing like the things in the front of the store retail experience. Like, how are you seeing it play out in the future? Where do you think the fine line is going to be 10 years from now?
I think sometimes we think about AI and humans competing, and I don't see it that way. In other words, I think AI and humanoids and robotics allows those automations to happen in a much, much better way, which allows humans to be much more human.
Mm.
And so I feel like it's going to be a combination of those things, whether they're in the front of the front of the store, or the back of the store. You'll have those AI interactions, or those robotic interactions, where it makes the most sense, where you're taking friction out of the mix. And then those human created experiences. When I think the store of the future is about co-creation with if this generation is collectors of experiences, then the store is the ultimate collection of experiences, right? It's the place where they can collect experiences in that store. So I went to the Arc'teryx store recently in Soho, and they are thinking about this from a collection of experiences perspective. They literally put you in the experience in a really meaningful way in the store. And so people will go take pictures of that store because of the experience itself, right?
Yeah.
So when we invite people to share and create the experience with us in the four walls of our store with our product and our associates, I think that's what the store of the future looks like. And we use robots and we use AI to automate the tasks that don't make us human. To be honest with you, right? Repetitive stats and facts and things like that. That's not what makes us human.
Yeah.
What makes us human is when we connect with another human and we say, "It's great to see you," and I call you by name, and
Yeah.
and you know that I remembered you. That's what makes us human.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, is there a fear that you have, Dave, that some part of your retail in-store shopping experience that you wish AI never replaces? What would that be?
Um, I do think that there's risk that sometimes we get so focused on efficiency that we miss the experience itself. In other words, we focus on the technology and the efficiency, and we forget that there's a human having an experience in this whole mix. I think if there's any risk, it's that, right? That we miss the real goal. We lose the plot, that there's a human that we're interacting with. And I think the risk is that we use automation everywhere, even where it's not needed. And so I'm very bullish about AI. I think it's going to be, I think it's making a huge impact on our world already, and I think it will continue to do so. I think it'll actually make us more human. When things get more rare, their value goes up, right?
Absolutely.
And so what's happening is our store associates who are really good at this get more and more valuable. And I think that that's what's going to happen. And if you're a retailer who tries to automate that human out of what that means, That's the risk. But I think there's a lot of smart retailers out there, and they get that their associates are gold for them. They get that the associate is the massive difference in their business. So
Yeah, I think you bring up an interesting memory. So now we've been working with one of the um, footwear retailers very closely. This multi-brand retailer, and in their experience, what I realized, unlike all the other brands like H&M, Group Dynamite, etc., that I worked with, was that their stores had associates which were like the average age of associates that have worked for that brand is more than 7 to 8 years. To me, it was amazing because that's not what I had seen with any of the other brands that I've worked with. And attrition was one of the biggest problem that they were facing, and hence all of the automation was very important for them. Whereas for this specific retailer, the reason why automation was needed was more to do with making associates be able to cater to human needs better, right? Because their associates were so damn good at it that and they understood their customers the way technology cannot, right? And I personally experienced it because I was when I looked at those statistics when my team was presenting to it versus while we were designing the user journey for them, and I was like, no, I first need to go and experience this to really understand this. And I went store to store, and there were people who had been working in the same brand for like 20 years, like 25 years, and it was shocking. And those people were not a handful. There were really like a lot of people in the store, and I think it just makes me realize how important it is in this AI era or this innovation era, where if you keep understanding the human aspects of not just from a customer's perspective, but also from the brand ambassadors as the associates that you have and everyone in in your supply chain, right? If you understand that human element of it, I don't think there is any fear that anybody should have with AI making them lose their job, right? You just have to fully get engraved in the human aspect of yourself than ever before. I think that's what we all are experiencing right now.
yeah, I think you're right. It'll make us more human than ever before because we focus on the stuff that matters the most.
Yep. So, Dave, if you were, let's say, consulting the CEO of, a Fortune 500 retailer, what is that one piece of advice that you would give them in the AI innovation era?
I feel like there's some really good CEOs out there that that I've recently heard about that have done some really interesting things. One is, if you take a step back and you say, okay, we're going through a change as humans that is as big at scale as the Industrial Revolution was for humans. That's the closest that we've been to that level of scale in our lifetime ever, right? So this is not just like cloud tech or mobile launches or e-commerce even launches. This is a massive human change, massive, right? And what's interesting about the differences between the Industrial Revolution and now is the Industrial Revolution took 30 or 40 years to go through. Now that's happening in 3 or 4 years, right? So it's happening in a tenth of the time, and it's happening faster than our people can do it. And so I feel like the successful CEO will get that this isn't a technology question; it's a human question. It's a human performance, a human adaptability question. It's a human agility question. And those that build agility into their organizations are going to win in the end. I think will be much more successful because it will continue to happen very rapidly. And there's a whole bunch of ideas of how to build agility and some really good, cool things that I've heard in the past or recent past about doing so. But I feel like the CEOs that build agility and have their teams build agility are the ones that are going to be successful over this change in AI.
Yep. Yep. So, Dave, that brings us towards the end of the episode. Tell us a little bit about yourself so that the audience, understands you better.
My background is that I helped to start Build-A-Bear workshop many moons ago. I was there for some time, and then I left there to go to work for Orvis, which is outdoor fly fishing brand. I was at Orvis for almost 10 years, and then I left Orvis to go do a backpacking kind of anthropology trip around the globe, where I interviewed tribes and scientists and met with the librarian of the oldest library in the world at the monastery of St. Catherine, met with scientists in Antarctica and South America and Galapagos. And anyway, during that whole process, I learned a ton about different perspectives, but mostly I learned about what I value the most. So I came back, totally changed for me. And I'm an ambassador for councils so I know a lot of CMOs and a lot of CIOs and CDOs for the National Retail Federation. Connecting people matters more than ever. And so that's where I really spend my time. I'm also a member of a club in New York called the Explorers Club, which is home to some of the major explorers of the world. And so I do projects with the Explorers Club. I'm doing a dinosaur dig in October, for example, in Portugal. And so for me, that's why when I talk about traveling, getting out there and how it builds curiosity and resilience and appreciation, I speak from my own experience on what that did for me. So, but I'm back now and I basically spend my time connecting people more than ever before.
Awesome. And Dave, you already talked about one new thing that you're working on, the dinosaur thing that you just mentioned. Any other new project that you want to bring up? Anything exciting that you're working on?
Yeah, I feel like what's happening to executives right now is that they're getting blasted with emails and, talking to some executives, they get almost 1,000 contacts a week of emails, white papers, podcasts to watch, all of that. And so it's literally a mountain coming their way. And they're using AI, interestingly, to cull through that and only choose the stuff that they can actually get to. But what's happening, what that means, though, is that because we're going through this AI change, it means that people are also extremely open to others' perspectives, and their egos are low because they don't have all the answers. So that means human connections, human experiences where we get together in the same room together and we talk about these things. That's what helps people navigate change the best, is when they band together and they compare notes. So what I'm mostly excited about is building experiences where, I just hosted something at the Explorers Club where we did a podcast. And then I gave a behind the scenes tour of the Explorers Club. Having people in the room, having a shared experience, talking to each other face to face, that will continue to happen. And I feel like we're at this real pivotal time as humans where we're going through this together. And the importance of face to face is going to be more important than ever before. It'll continue to grow that way. So I'm mostly excited about that because every week I'm doing something new around face to face connections with people. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Love it. And Dave, where can people find you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Dave Finnegan on LinkedIn. I would love to connect. If you would like on LinkedIn, you can find me there.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much, Dave. I think it was a very interesting conversation.
Thank you for the invite. It was a lot of fun.